All right, well, welcome back to Exhaust Sports Auto. My name is Kevin, and we are here to check out this 2020 Infiniti QX80. So, who do we have to thank for this little opportunity? It is none other than Johnson Lexus in Durham, North Carolina. So, I'm going to leave all of Danny's information down in the description box below. But why am I checking out this bad boy? Because Infiniti is apparently a dying brand, and this is probably one of their best products. It is their flagship SUV, and one of the reasons why I like this so much is because it's one of those body-on-frame Tahoe type vehicles. However, it's Japanese, made in Japan, so I think a lot of people are going to appreciate that. Also, it undercuts a Lexus LX by quite a bit, like a few $1,000s. I think damn near $30,000 actually. So, especially depending on options. This one is now stickered for about 55, 52,000, something like that, which is again significantly less than what a new one would have cost, which is like 65,000. This is a Lux model with all-wheel drive. It's got about 18,000 miles on it now. So, I'm a pretty big advocate for like these body-on-frame vehicles because, well, nobody knows how to drive, and these are just hyper safe vehicles. They're like as close as you're going to get to as driving a tank. So there is that. But I guess with all reviews, let's talk about the looks, because I also like the way that this vehicle looks. It is a pretty excellent looking automobile. Prestigious, of course, you know, it's that big old Infiniti truck, right, as like the youngins like to say, right? It's got definitely a level of prestige. It's definitely got presence to it, that's for sure. This thing is massive, like 210 inches long, and it's one of the, literally one of the largest vehicles that a human being can purchase, right? And it's not like overly gaudy. I mean, it's pretty blingy, honestly. It's got some chrome bits on it, but the grille isn't like insanely large. I think a lot of people can appreciate that. But at the end of the day, you let me know what you think about the way that this vehicle looks, because beauty is in the eye of the beholder. What I'm more curious about is the way that this bad boy drives. And again, let me reiterate why I like these body-on-frame vehicles so much. It's because, well, recently I was in an accident. Well, not recently. It was literally last year. I was in an accident. Some kid pulled out on me at a red light, and I was in a Toyota Tundra, which is obviously a truck, and the airbag didn't even go off because it was just a non-issue for the vehicle. I mean, it just soaked up the impact like it was nothing, like it went over a curb basically. But the kid's car was completely totaled. It was an Acura TL, like an '05 or whatever. This is one of those few vehicles where you can put your family inside of this thing, and yes, it's a lot of money. Well, technically not really. This is about 55 grand, but like, I'm just saying, fuel economy wise, it's getting like 14 city, 19 highway, especially since this is the all-wheel drive version. I get it, that might be impossible for some people to stomach. If you're putting on a ton of miles on your car, that might be impossible for you to fathom, putting that type of fuel inside of this 5.6 liter V8. Now, here's the thing, it is a 5.6 liter V8, and that's also a dying breed nowadays. So who's really giving you this huge engine nowadays? It's going away, so get it while you can. This 5.6 liter puts out 400 horsepower and about 413 pounds-feet of torque. Another thing is, this was hypothetical for me, but I was thinking if I were to get a daily driver as a second car, like what would I get? Like, I was really looking at the Nissan Armadas, and I guess this thing used is about the same price as a new Nissan Armada, and it's an Infiniti, right? And I liked it because it was like this big, badass SUV, body on frame, like a tank on wheels basically. You can be safe. It's a V8, so it's got plenty of thrust. It's going to sound good. It's just great having an 8-cylinder vehicle. I get it, it's a gas hog, but still, like, it's one of those things. It really completes a luxury vehicle. It just does. As I'm piloting this car, this is so easy for me to just whip around traffic. This is just not even intimidating at all. It's got huge side mirrors, and that's really helping out here. I mean, I can pretty much see everything out of this thing. Just like the rear visibility, out of the rear windshield, it's a bit tight because of the rear view mirror isn't that large. But as a whole, dude, it's so easy to see out of this thing and place out on the road. It does not feel, it feels like half its size, honestly, but you do sit up very high. So you do have that sensation because it's a legitimate SUV, of course. And because it's legit, I mean, it's like, yeah, I think the biggest con with this vehicle, other than some of the interior components, is actually the fuel economy, because, this engine, this body structure, that's the whole reason why, it can tow 8,500 pounds. These are highly capable machines. If you have to use this thing in its entirety, I mean, from all spectrums, you use this motor, you use this, travel around with your family, so you use it for the safety of it. It's got 3 rows, of course, which I'll talk about, and you use it to tow. I mean, you're really getting a lot of use out of this thing, and your biggest complaint that you're probably gonna have is the fuel economy. And that was foot to the floor. I mean, it's not I'm not saying it's the fastest thing in the world. It's just a refined experience. It's going to sound good. It doesn't feel like it's struggling or anything. It does effortlessly get up to power, but it is about 6,000 pounds, especially with the all-wheel drive. It's like 3 tons. So it's got a lot of mass to move about, kind of to forgive it for that. But this is an Infiniti product, and Infinitis are kind of known for good driving dynamics, and that's something that they worked on here. Obviously, all these truck-based vehicles, they utilize a double wishbone suspension up front, multi-link in the rear. However, this takes it a step further and tries to give you some handling dynamic as well. It's got like this hydraulic body control thing, so it's got like these hydraulic cylinders inside these shock absorbers, and kind of sends the oil around, and it tries to balance out the vehicle essentially. So look at that. Definitely still some roll. I mean, how are you going to get rid of that? And a lot of that is just marketing nonsense, but at least it didn't like try to shred its own tires out, so that's good at least. I'll test more of that handling in a bit, but like that wasn't terrible. That wasn't the worst thing I've ever experienced. I definitely forgive it for a vehicle of this size. It definitely has a sense of driver confidence. I mean, the steering wheel, there's a tad bit of play in it, but nothing ridiculous. It's still pretty precise for what this is. Actually, this thing is running on 20-inch wheels, and refinement is another thing that they worked on. But speaking of 20-inch wheels, that's helping with the ride, but you have these optional 22-inch wheels, and those wheels are actually forged aluminum wheels. So I'm going over some of these like little trash bumps here, and it is coping pretty well actually. Comfort is definitely a high mark with this vehicle, and it's definitely soaking up bumps extremely well. There is a bit of undulation with the vehicle, however, that is also to be expected. It's a very large SUV with a lot of travel in the suspension, so it's got a bit of that wallowy feel, but again, there's a certain level of confidence that I don't really mind with this thing. Again, it's a phenomenal cruiser, of course. And yeah, refinement, of course, they worked on that. It's got a coefficient of drag of like 0.367, so relatively low for this type of vehicle, and airflow containing that's another thing that they try to work on for this vehicle to improve stability at speeds and just to reduce road noise, tire noise, stuff like that. There's not a whole lot of noise, however, this vehicle does sit up pretty high, so there is definitely going to be a bit of wind noise, but it's not terrible. Get up to speed more. Get a bit of wind noise, but vehicles that sit up pretty high, like these truck-like vehicles, they're usually going to have a little bit of wind noise associated with it, but it's not a big deal. There's one touch up and down windows, love that, and it's double pane glass as well, very thick double pane glass, so I do like that. Again, these are some tight areas I'm kind of shoving this car into, and it's coping very well. Bus in this corner. It's got a 7-speed automatic. That's reacting pretty good, and yeah, they are right. The high-speed stability is excellent with this vehicle. That's not remotely an issue. And it's not squealing its tires or anything like that. It's actually, they haven't eliminated body roll or anything. I mean, that's impossible, but like, it is actually coping extremely well, and that's what I'm saying. It does have pretty good driver confidence involved with it, and it will kind of get away from you. You can be doing over 10 miles per hour over the speed limit and not really notice it. It's a great trait of a luxury vehicle, I guess. It means that it's composed, refined, all that good stuff. So yeah, as a whole, I mean, I definitely enjoy piloting these cars. These types of cars, Tahoes, things of this nature, they never really disappoint, of course. I have not driven the LX. I would like to, the LX5, what is it called, 570, 560, something like that. I would like to try that vehicle out. I've only driven like an older version of it, so it doesn't really count. But that, LX is very expensive. This is even brand new. This undercuts the LXs by a lot of money. This is actually in like Tahoe realm of pricing, and this is an Infiniti, not a Chevy, so there is that. But let me know your thoughts. If you're an owner of this thing, let me know how you like the way that this car drives, and if you've driven like the Tahoes and stuff like that. I've driven the new 2021 Tahoe, and I like that as well. I think there's a bit more precision with that vehicle, driving wise, if that counts. I mean, it's got the new mag-ride suspension, so that definitely helped out with the with how that vehicle handles. But I'm liking this, and I think a lot of people are going to like the fact that this is an Infiniti, and you can easily get warranties and stuff for this car very cheaply, and it's going to be brand new, no real issues there. So there you go. Let's talk about this interior, because that's really the only place where I have a few gripes with it. It's not a terrible interior. A lot of people are saying that Infiniti interiors are dated and all that, and it very well might be, I guess. The biggest negative I have with this interior space is just this center stack, the 2 screens, and then the piano black plastic going around it. Not only that, when you press upon it, it kind of squeaks a little bit. Obviously, it's been sitting out in the sun a little bit, so I do forgive it for that. As a whole, it's been a pretty solid interior cabin with 18,000 miles on it, but that is the one thing I noticed. Now, you're not going to be touching up against the panels like I just did there, but I'm just giving you an example. The biggest problem with that material is it's going to showcase all the dust, debris, all that stuff. And yeah, it's got this 2-screen system here. You know, Honda Acura ditched it a long time ago. Here's Infiniti still doing this nonsense. And fortunately, the one good thing is the screens do react very quickly. The screen up top is not a touch screen, but the bottom one is. And it does have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, so you can enjoy that. However, Kia, Hyundai, Dodge, the new Mazdas, I mean, these are good quality infotainment systems. I guess BMW iDrive is pretty good, you know, and they all use one screen essentially. This is just so extra. This is just a showcase of those people who like screens. You got 2 of them, I guess. But fortunately, it responds very quickly. It's pretty crisp, and it is relatively easy to get used to, so I guess that's pretty good. You have a lot of the classic amenities. I mean, this is the Luxe trim. It is not the fully loaded like Limited or Signature or whatever. This trim's got like the heated seats, of course. You got automatic headlights, heated steering wheel, a few safety features, blind spot monitoring, and lane keep assist, and all this stuff. Forward collision braking assist, all that. You have this traditional operated gear lever knob, which I really do like. I mean, as far as luxury cars go, I mean, compared to like the new Lexus stuff, I mean, this is definitely behind. This is definitely the pinnacle of quality for like a luxury car or anything like that. It is, I hate to say it is a little bit behind. However, it is a pretty solid automobile, of course. I mean, people usually forgive these body on frame cars for being a little out of date because, well, the whole thing is out of date. You know, like the motor does have direct injected. I think I forgot to mention that, but yeah, you do have that. Yeah, I mean, as a whole, I mean, everything is usable, which is great. And it's got like this nice little wooden steering wheel here. However, like the fit and finish isn't quite this wood is kind of like, you know, glued on here. You know what I'm saying? It's just not it's not the pinnacle of quality by any means, but hey, whatever. They tried their best. I wish in the center stack here they would just use like the solid gray wood. I wish they would just slab that here, but they didn't do that. But you know, this wood is pretty nice. I do appreciate that. It's, you know, a pretty plush interior space. You know, it's got like this leather wrapped trimmings going all around and soft touch materials being used. The glass goes up and down like very quickly. Look how fast that thing is. There's that. You do have the memory seats, electric seats, of course, obviously. And this one obviously is the 4-wheel drive. So you have your four-wheel drive controls here and traction control off. You have buttons on the steering wheel, of course, which is nice, but you do have to kind of get used to the placement of it. I mean, you do kind of have to, you know, own the thing and kind of get used to it. Gauge cluster is actually extremely nice. It's, you know, traditional tachometer, speedometer, and you have like this little helper screen in the middle here, and it's, you know, it does its job, right? I mean, it shows you some good information. It's just similar to like the Hyundai Kia stuff. Pretty easy to get used to, so I do like that. Storage space galore, of course. I mean, you got 2 cup holders here. Stow that away, and you got, I guess you got storage for a phone, I suppose. Yeah, that'll probably fly out, honestly, but yeah, you can definitely put something in there. And the center armrest is also a great size. I do appreciate that. You do have USB and USB-C outlets here in the front. Glove box is a decent size. These seats are, they don't look like much. I mean, they are leather seats, obviously, but they're a little bit on the harder side, which I'm surprised by. And even after 18,000 miles, I mean, they've aged extremely well. I mean, I feel like it will age well in the long term, but it's not like, again, like I mentioned, this is kind of like a GM interior, except a little bit nicer, I guess. And that's probably why some people, they don't really like Infinitis, but I like this particular one because you're not going to get this anywhere else. This is just a one-of-a-kind automobile, undercutting the competition, and it's prestigious. It looks baller, you know what I'm saying? It looks like you made it in life. Now, as for the rear seats, I can definitely fit behind myself. That's not even remotely an issue. This vehicle does have like the comfort access thing, so it'll actually automatically push my seat back. So even still, I have plenty of space. They're kind of like captain's chairs. You don't have like 3 seats in the back, and because of that, you have a lot of storage in the middle, and actually the rear occupants have space, or they have access to your front armrest, so they can just flip this up. So if you have kids, that can kind of suck. But yeah, you have 2 cup holders back there. There's no screens or televisions back there or anything like that, not in this trim anyway. Getting access to the 3rd row is actually pretty easy. You just flip down the 2nd row seats, and you can definitely get back there pretty easily. I would say for the most part, this is actually like a 4-seater car for like 4 adults, but you know, you can definitely use the 3rd row. You know, once I'm back there, when I put the the seat up. I fit behind myself. I can do about 10-15 minutes back there. So I'm 5'11". I can at least fit in all 3 rows, but it's not super comfortable back there in the 3rd row. But children can easily fit back there. But the reason why I say this is mainly a 4-seater is because when you have the 3rd row up, you don't have a lot of space in the trunk, which kind of sucks. And here's another thing that sucks about the trunk. It's really slow to put down the 3rd row seats. So it's electronically controlled and it takes forever for it to like go down and up. So that kind of blows. But hey, once you do finally have it down, it is a pretty practical machine. Nice 4-seater vehicle that's highly safe. I mean, when you close this door, you feel like you're in a bank vault. So that's an excellent sensation. You can't even put a price tag on that, honestly. So for me, I can forgive a lot of this stuff because a lot of the other things are great about this vehicle, driving wise, safety wise, all that. But fuel economy is actually my only big gripe. But hey, all these vehicles suck at fuel economy. Anything that's truck like with the V8, they all get like 13 mpg city. So you're just gonna have to deal with it. Plenty of people drive big old trucks around, so I don't think it's a big deal for you guys. So yeah, this is definitely one to look into. I just like the price point, especially somewhat used like this. It can be a great value proposition. So there is that. Once again, I'm going to leave all of Johnson Lexus's information down in the description box below. Thank you again for watching. Take care and goodbye.